Hello friends, it's Alyssa back at you with some final facts. Sorry for the delay, but let's go ahead and get started on this new video. So, it's back to school season in the US. Naturally, while shopping for a new bulletproof backpack and prepping kids on active shooter drills, we've also had 3 mass shootings by white men in one of the last weeks of summer, leaving more than 30 dead and over 60 wounded. So let's break that down. We had the Gilroy Garlic Festival, which killed 3. The victims were 6, 13, and 25 years old. The shooting in El Paso and then the third in Dayton, Ohio, both happened within 24 hours of each other over the weekend. Between just the two, the death count totaled 29 with 53 injured. So let's talk about the men behind these massacres because I really need y'all to understand this. The Garlic Festival shooter, 19-year-old Santino William Ligon, promoted the white supremacist text "Might is Right" on his social media and even posted racist content right before the shooting. This domestic terrorist literally stated his hatred of mestizos, or those who are mixed races, before driving all the way from Nevada to shoot up a city in California where the population is over 60% Hispanic. The El Paso shooter, 21-year-old Patrick Cruzius, is being linked to a hate-filled and anti-immigrant manifesto that was posted online just minutes before the shooting. This white supremacist-based manifesto discussed a Hispanic invasion in Texas and detailed a plan to separate America into territories by race. It even warned that white people were being replaced by foreigners. This homegrown white nationalist terrorist gave a very specific reason for the attack. He was simply defending his country from cultural and ethnic replacement brought on by an invasion. Does this sound familiar to you? Let me give you a quick refresher. Here's just a handful of Trump tweets from the last year. Please go back. You will not be admitted into the United States unless you go through the legal process. This is an invasion of our country, and our military is waiting for you. People have been saying for years that we should talk to Mexico. The problem is that Mexico is an abuser of the United States, taking but never giving. It has been this way for decades. Either they stop the invasion of our country by drug dealers, cartels, and human traffickers. With another president, millions would be pouring in. I am stopping an invasion as the wall gets built. Now, of course, that's just a few tweets. Y'all can scroll through his page at your leisure and you'll find plenty more. I'd also like to bring back this clip from a Florida Trump rally just 3 months ago in May, at which Trump rhetorically asks what to do about a large number of immigrants coming to our borders, and an audience member yells, "Shoot them." Trump literally makes a joke and laughs along as the audience claps and cheers.
I mean, when you have 15,000 people marching up and you have hundreds and hundreds of people and you have 2 or 3 border security people that are brave and great, and don't forget, we don't let them and we can't let them use weapons. We can't. Other countries do. We can't. I would never do that. But how do you stop these people? You can't. There's no... That's only in the panhandle you can get away with that statement.
And what's even crazier is that since making this video and since taking my notes, this morning, Monday morning, Trump has literally gone on Twitter on a huge tirade, basically blaming the media for the shootings, saying it's the media's fault. It's the media's fault for reporting on what you're doing and what you're saying. Okay, and he's trying to blame immigrants and say, oh, we'll just beef up the security at the border. All of these shootings were conducted by white men. What is a border wall going to do about domestic terrorism and people who are already terrorists that are here? We saw it after white supremacists ran over Heather Heyer in Charlottesville. We see it after every single right-wing extremist attack. And now here we see Trump downright refusing to call a spade or a supremacist. Rather than address white supremacy-soaked domestic terrorism, Trump plays up the good people on both sides. Or he plays down the severity of literal massacres, vaguely referring to them as hateful and acts of cowardice. Oh, and by the way, fast facts for you real quick. Every single extremist attack in 2018, every single one had a link to right-wing extremism. And in 2017, nearly 2/3 of extremist attacks were committed by right-wing terrorists. Also, new studies show that hate crimes have increased up to 226% in several counties that held Trump rallies in 2016. I wonder why. I've included a link. It's going to be down in my YouTube description, so pause the video now to watch it. It's 3 minutes, or just watch it at the end. But it's basically a video of unfiltered Trump supporters at rallies that I can't put in this video. I don't really want to, because there's an abundance of slurs, praising violence. There's even a shot of someone literally throwing up a Nazi salute. So y'all just take some time and watch that when you can. I also just want to put up on the screen the definition of stochastic terrorism, just for relevancy. So let's read over that together, knowing everything that we know right now. The public demonization of a person or group resulting in the incitement of a violent act, which is statistically probable, but whose specifics cannot be predicted. I wanted to bring up this definition because we all know Trump has a habit of othering specifically Hispanic or Latino people against Americans, because it goes beyond citizens versus undocumented immigrants when you have ICE agents allowed to detain citizens without regulations because they look illegal. And it goes beyond legality justifications when you can literally chant, "Send her back," to an immigrant who obtained her citizenship, quote unquote, the right way. But back to the final shooting. Dayton, Ohio, 9 dead, 27 injured by 24-year-old Connor Betts. While the motive remains unclear, Betts is still a white American homegrown terrorist. There's no doubt about that. And there's a detail in this massacre I really need to highlight because it correlates perfectly to the favorite Republican talking point, a good guy with a gun. Multiple reports have confirmed that Betts was killed by police officers within 1 minute, you guys, just 1 minute of the gunfire erupting. This is the ideal situation or excuse conservatives love to give. The good guys with the gun will stop the bad guys with the guns. Apparently, the right to gun ownership and the leniency surrounding it outweighs at least these 9 heartbeats to Republicans. And speaking of lax gun regulation, let's hit a few more fast facts. This is for all of those conservatives shared on their walls. They say, we already have gun laws and they don't work. No, we really don't. We've got nothing but loopholes. Loophole after loophole. The Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act of 2005 still gives the gun industry broad immunity from civil lawsuits. This is something that no other industry has. The Gun Control Act of 1968, which bars convicted felons, some severely mentally ill individuals, and eventually added domestic violence, still today does not include stalkers, abusive dating partners, or those on the terrorist watch list. Also, federal law does not require owners to safely store guns even if children are present, and ammunition sellers are unregulated and don't have to keep record of their sales. Let's talk background check loopholes. Unlicensed sellers, that's online, that's gun shows, street sellers, whatever. They're not required to conduct background checks. And did you know that the National Instant Background Check System, or NICS, that's used by the FBI for gun sales, is conducted in under 2 minutes? It's conducted in under 2 minutes. Every job I've ever had just to work retail, just to work sales, I've had to wait 2 weeks on a background check minimum. And you're telling me I can walk in and get a gun in 2 minutes? And then here's something else for you guys. If a 2-minute check requires further investigation by the FBI, and that investigation is not completed within 3 days, the purchase is allowed to proceed by default. Before we move on, let's take a look at this chart. The 18 colored states are the only ones that require background checks on private sales. Within this, those that are shaded blue require universal background checks, while those in red only require partial background checks. Y'all, this could be a whole video in and of itself, so please check out the link in my YouTube description for an entire database of fact sheets, further breaking down our complete lack of federal gun regulation. And because we don't even have time to dip into the NRA, dipping into Trump and Republican politicians' pockets, Google is free. And I suggest some of y'all take 10 minutes to look into who exactly profits off 2A propaganda and gun massacres on American soil. All right, last 2 points. For argument's sake, fine. let's take a step back and let's approach the sweeping notion of propping up mental illness as the sole cause behind all of this. So how do you even begin to make sure those with mental health issues have at least adequate enough care to apparently not go on a murdering spree for quote unquote no apparent reason? How do we ensure those with mental illness can get help? Well, we provide them with health care. So whenever you're ready for that, Republicans, we'll keep waiting. And while we're waiting, I'll leave you with this question. What do you think Trump and the GOP would be saying right now if nearly 100 Americans were killed or injured in 1 week by an undocumented immigrant or a Muslim or a person of color? What do you think y'all would be saying? So that's it, you guys. That's the final facts. If you like what you see and you want to support independent journalism, check out the links below for my Cash App and Venmo. Every bit helps. Gives me more time to put aside to do the research and give you guys these awesome videos. Love y'all. Bye.